Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to this month's installment of Ask Moses. My name is Moses Wiles. I'm the landlord-tenant mediator for the city of Takoma Park. I'm joined today by my colleague, Ms. Jean Kerr, who's a housing specialist. Today we'll be talking about lease terms as it is governed by chapter 6.16, section 070 of the city code. Lease terms in the city the normal term for the first lease is 1 year unless reasonable cause exists for entering a lease term of less than 1 year. In this section, you'll also find documentation regarding what constitutes reasonable cause, which could include a hardship for the landlord selling the rental property, the landlord intends to occupy the rental unit.
Thank you, Moses, for your summary. But now, I'd like to ask a few questions that represent common scenarios for renters and landlords. My lease is for a 6-year term. Is this allowable?
It certainly is, Jean, although it's highly doubtful that the landlord or the tenant want to commit for such a lengthy period. As noted earlier, the city law says that the first lease term should be for a 1-year period.
My lease was never signed. Is it still binding?
That's a great question, Jean. I would say no, because I think that the lease has to be signed for it to be binding. The city law indicates that 14 days after the lease is signed, a copy is to be given to both the landlord and the tenant.
My lease expires in December. What can I do?
If you're in your first year's first lease, you've got a couple of options. You can contact the landlord if you wish to stay beyond that period, or you can give the landlord a notice of your intent to vacate.
My lease automatically rolls to month after the first year. Is this legal in Takoma Park?
This is a common misnomer. The leases in the city do not automatically become month to month after the end of the first year. 2 months prior to the end of the first year, the landlord is to give the tenant a written offer of another year, some lesser lease term, or they may give them a notice to vacate.
I'm a landlord and I want my tenant out right now. What are my options?
Well, Jean, if the tenant has breached the lease, not paid the rent, they're running a business out of the unit, or some other way they breached the lease, the landlord, you may give the tenant a 30-day notice to vacate.
Also, my tenant does not pay rent. Do I need to wait until the lease expires to file a legal eviction?
No, you do not. If the tenant has not paid the rent, some landlords, as soon as 5 days after the first, file in district court. That is the option that you have as the landlord which is to file in district court for failure to pay rent.
I'm an owner and I want to move back into my unit. Must I still honor my lease with my tenant?
The answer is yes. You need to honor the term of the lease that currently exists with the tenant.
My initial lease term expires October 31st. Do I have to leave then?
Unless you have gotten a notice to vacate from the landlord, you have the option, as I indicated earlier, of staying past the October 31st lease term. You have an option that must be exercised within 2 months after 2 months after October 31st.
I just signed my lease, but I want to move. Is it possible?
Well, it's possible, but it's not very likely. You've signed a binding contract, and unless you and the landlord can work it out, you are bound by the terms of that lease.
Thank you, Mr. Wiles.
Thank you, Jean. We hope that this discussion has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please type them in the comments or mail them to housing@tacomaparkmd.gov. Please tune in to next month's edition of Ask Moses, where we will discuss repair requests and city elections. Have an outstanding October. Thank you.